Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are bringing you another great game of CEDH. I want to thank Fernando for editing last week's game, as these videos really take quite a bit of time and effort to make. And it was a great gameplay, and I'm thankful for the help. As for today's gameplay, as the title of this video might suggest, it's a bit of a zany game, and while there are some misplays, I really did enjoy seeing the turns unfold. Also, if you're interested in playing with us, hop on our Discord. We have an ever-growing community and would love to talk MTG or whatever strikes your fantasy. And another benefit is we often let people know when we play and would love to meet some new people. Alright, block there, kill that. Oh, that is trample. Guess I'm just dead on board. First up, we have MTG Loots piloting Silas, Rograkh. This is a turbo ad nos deck that uses its 0 CMC commander to enable some incredible cards, such as Mox Amber, Culling the Weak, and Fierce Guardianship. The deck is incredibly fast, even when compared to other turbo nos commanders. The downside is, though, that you do lose out on a commander that grants you card advantage. In the second spot, we have Jimmy playing Marath. This Naya control deck looks to use creature-based stax cards, along with Marath to slow his opponents down until he can assemble one of his own combos. It's a great deck that preys on both combo and creature-based strategies. In the third spot, we have Cedh playing Kenrith. This version is meta Kenrith, and is another stax deck that is highly customizable. It also has the added benefit of having Kenrith being able to break parity with his Swiss Army knife of abilities, from being able to either rebuy your creature stax pieces, draw additional cards, or even pump your creatures for lethal. This is one powerful king. And bringing up the rear, we have Fernando playing his favorite, Brago, King Eternal. This Azorius artifact stax deck utilizes lots of fast mana and stax pieces to slow his opponents down, while relying on Brago to reset his fast mana and gain advantage. But if the deck looks interesting, check out our video deck tech, as we got Brago himself to explain the power he yields, although he's not the fastest speaker, so I do suggest playing it at a faster speed. But without further ado, let's get on to the gameplay. Also, please note, this game was played a little while ago, and as such, we were still playing Hullbreacher at the time. Loot starts off the game with a Scalding Tarn, and after viciously getting attacked by his cat...
Whoa, get the fuck away from me, cat. Go. Get out.
Wow.
Show that cat love.
Stop.
Whoa. Get the fuck away from me.
What do you have, like a tiger? Holy shit, Jaguar, get away from me.
He fetches for a volcanic island. He shortcuts and casts his commander Rograkh, and uses his volcanic to cast a Spring Leaf Drum. Jimmy has a forest as land and casts an exploration. This lets him play and crack an arid mesa for Savannah to cast the Birds of Paradise.
What the fuck are these people drawing?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You guys need to learn how to play fair magic.
Right. You're not ready for this.
Cedh also has a Scalding Tarn, but unfortunately he doesn't have any additional plays and hands it over to Fernando.
You're not ready for this either. Play Mars Flats and pass.
What? My mind's blown.
You go, Rick.
Lutz wasn't ready for those speedy turns, as he hadn't even finished shuffling, but he has a command tower as land. Having already dumped his hand, he slams down a Wheel of Fortune, with Cheetos cracking his fetch for an Underground Sea, and using it for a Vamp Tutor. This also makes Fernando decide to crack his own fetch for a tapped Hollowed Fountain. Cedh finds a card to put on top, and the table then discards and draws a new 7, with Fernando discarding quite the spicy hand.
Arcane
I'll
Signet,
go for
Snow Cover Island, Rest in Peace, Arcane Laboratory, Rhystic Study, Static Orb, and Smothering Tide.
Oh my god, I'm really happy I hit all those cards, to be honest.
Lutz unfortunately doesn't find the fast mana he's looking for and has to pass. Jimmy plays another forest and casts a Cetessan champion. It resolves with him following it up with a Carpet of Flowers. He gets to draw and grow the champion, but doesn't find the second land he was looking for. So he then activates the Carpet for white and casts a Deafening Silence.
No, my fucking god.
I'm gonna draw.
Yeah.
I couldn't get there.
Pretty nice.
Oh, this will go up.
That's pretty nice. I guess we're playing through stacks again, boys.
It's happening. Pass.
Draw. I can't believe you just fucking did that. That was unfucking believable.
I love it.
Like Cheetos and I were just getting raked by this game. Just by turn order. We got fucked by turn order. Holy shit.
Cedh has a Verdant Catacombs and cracks it for a Bayou, and uses it to cast an Elves of Deep Shadows. Fernando plays a Sea of Clouds and casts a Soul Ring. Deciding he wants to mess the table up even more, Fernando follows it up with a Draenei Magistrate.
No.
Oh!
Oh, son of a.
Lutz has a Cascade Bluffs as land, but doesn't have anything he wants to play, and passes. Jimmy draws a mountain off the top and activates his carpet for a green. He casts a Mana Gorgia Hydra. He then heads to combat and sends his champion at Lutz for 3. Lutz takes the hit, and on his second main, Jimmy ramps again with a 3 visits to find a Savannah. Cedh takes 1 off the elf and plays a Wooded Foothills. Now having access to the extra mana, he casts a Gilded Drake. This triggers Jimmy's Hydra, and Lutz also taps Rograkh with his drum to make a black mana. This also gives Jimmy the opportunity to cast an Ancient Grudge to blow up Fernando's Soul Ring, with his Hydra growing once again. The Drake resolves with Cedh deciding to take the ever-growing Hydra, and Lutz uses his black mana to cast a Tainted Pact. The Hydra grows, and Lutz starts exiling.
River of Tears. We're gonna keep going. Shivan Reef. Gonna keep going. Land. 5 lands. 6 lands. Are all my lands here? 7 lands. Oh,
You didn't shuffle.
I like that.
Oh wow.
jeez.
He eventually settles on a Demonic Tutor. Fernando has a snow-covered plains and casts a Mana Vault, which helps him power out his commander, Brago. And at his end step, Lutz casts a Chain of Vapor targeting the Deafening Silence. The silence is bounced, and Jimmy sacks a forest and copies it to bounce the Springleaf Drum. Lutz plays a City of Brass as land, and sacrifices Rograkh to a Culling the Weak for 4 black mana. This grows the Hydra, and in response, Cedh sacrifices his Wooded Foothills for a tropical island, and uses it to Swan Song the Culling. Lutz then follows it up with his revealed Demonic Tutor.
Jimmy, even though he doesn't have the hybrid, you're just happy about it. It's hilarious.
It just gets so big.
You have no response.
The Hydra grows. Also, at this point, I'm going to stop mentioning this trigger, as I don't really want to keep track of it. And they are, so you don't have to really worry. Lutz settles on a card, and then recasts the Springleaf Drum, but decides that's enough as he passes to Jimmy. Jimmy starts by activating his carpet for 2 white. He uses 1 of it to recast his Deafening Silence. This triggers his champion to draw again, and gain another counter. Jimmy then heads to combat, and the champion heads at Fernando, while the Drake heads at Lutz. On his second main, Jimmy realizes he lost his floating white. Unfortunately, at this point, Jimmy does make a play error. He casts an Altar of Bone, even though he shouldn't have been able to, due to the Deafening Silence counting as his 1 non-creature spell. He ends up finding an Aven Mind Sensor and passes. Cedh has an Exotic Orchard as land and casts a Demonic Tutor of his own.
Flash in Aven.
If I had interaction.
Oh, fuck! I'm
Literally said, I'm putting it in
tutored
my
for it.
sensor in my
Literally
hand.
just fucking talks about it. Yep.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Wait,
you get a
hold
counter,
on.
though.
Misplay number 1.
This one's definitely top
Correct.
3 of the night. Misplays.
He can't
He
counter.
He was literally just typing it up, and I'm just like, yeah, Demonic Tutor.
He takes a card from the top 4 and heads to combat. The Hydra, now all grown, heads at Lutz, who takes the hit, and Cedh is done after that. Fernando has another snow-covered plains and heads to combat. He sends his board at Cedh and blinks it after that. On his second main, he finishes his turn casting his Sensei's Divining Top. Lutz untaps and plays a Forbidden Orchard.
No, my game's over now. Like, I had to make a play. But Deafening Silence is a card. So, yeah.
Jimmy has a solution for the Hydra as he plays a Maze of Ith as land. He then casts an Impact Tremors and triggers his champion to draw. It also looks like he drew something good as he follows it up with a Sarah's Ascendant. Jimmy then heads to combat and swings at Cedh while his shields are down. At his end step, Cedh brain freezes himself for a total of 9 cards. Cedh likes something he milled as he then casts an Underworld Breach. It resolves, and Fernando then reminds the table that Draenei stops him from casting out of his graveyard.
Now that he has resolve and that you're gonna try to cast something from your graveyard, I'm gonna tell you that you can't because of Draenei's Magistrate.
Oh shit. Even worse.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct.
That is absolutely
What?
correct.
Granite?
That is correct.
Your
That is
opponents
so
can only
fucking-
cast cards from your hands.
Oh,
Your graveyard is not your hand.
That fucking. Jesus. Oh, I forgot. Well, I'm just full of them today. Okay, I'm gonna cast Death Right. I'm gonna.
You got it.
bigger Hydra.
Bigger Hydra.
After getting over the sadness, he heads to combat and swings his Hydra at Jimmy, who just simply mazes the Hydra out of combat. I know, Cheeto did just have an amazing turn. And at his end step, Fernando tops. Fernando decides the board really needs more stax pieces, as he casts a Kismet. Following this up, he heads to combat and swings Brago at Cheeto. Loot takes it, and Brago flickers the mana vault. At his end step, Loot exiles a Simian Spirit Guide for a red, and taps his birds for a mana, to overload a Cyclonic Rift, to which Jimmy responds by adding a white mana, while Fernando tops, and Cheeto casts a Culling the Weak to sacrifice the Hydra. The Rift resolves, and Jimmy then flashes in a Hushwing Griff before Fernando has to go to discards. Lutz draws and finds a Mana Crypt off the top. He then decides to go for it as he casts a Mnemonic Betrayal. Seeing as this would probably give him the win, Fernando hard casts a Fierce Guardianship to put an end to it. We also realized that Lutz needed to give a Spirit out due to the Orchard, and to show no hurt feelings, he gives it to Fernando. Jimmy starts off with a Cetessan Champion, and then
And then your favorite card, Deafening Silence.
Stop it, Jimmy.
I hate that
Dude,
card.
it
I
does
fucking
not
hate
go
it.
away.
I can't. I tried so many times. You guys ruined it.
And then I'm gonna draw.
Now it's over for real. Now we're gonna sit here for 3 more hours while
I need to
Eagle-
discard
slowly lose the game.
cards. Oh, first I'm gonna attack Rick in the air for 2.
Aw, that's rude, Jimmy. I didn't even. You know what? I did try to win there, but still, rude.
Gotta kick him when he's down.
Why didn't you play your Cetessan Champion?
It's on the battlefield.
With one counter.
Wait, did you get a draw trigger?
Yeah.
I drew.
Whoa, I didn't
Okay.
hear that. I'm responding to that draw trigger.
He's just gonna whole breach you.
Yeah, fuck you, Hole Breacher.
Good treasure.
I'm gonna take one. I'm gonna fucking Hole Breacher that shit.
Now I don't have to discard 3 cards.
I'm gonna create a treasure token. There it is. Treasure.
and Jimmy then has to head to discards and discard 3 cards. Cheeto also starts rebuilding as he casts a Deathrite Shaman. He really wants to cast Kenrith before the Drenith comes out, so Cheeto casts a Lion's Eye Diamond, and cracks it, discarding the 2 remaining cards in his hand to cast Kenrith. This also leaves him with a red open, which he uses to give the King haste, and he turns him sideways at Jimmy, to which Jimmy again just Maze of Iths it.
Oh my god,
God
that's right.
damn it.
Oh, Scorpion,
I think we gotta go to bed. Now I'm feeling bad I didn't counter that mnemonic
Oh my
betrayal.
God.
Just let it go.
You should have just
I'm
let me
gonna
win.
I saw the Maze of It too. I fucking saw it too. Okay.
Fernando has a simple turn. He replays his Mana Vault, taps it for Brago, and then recasts the Drenith.
Alright, odds I take damage. Fuck!
What's
At
going
least,
on this
honestly, at least if I die, you guys still have to be in the game. I'm good. Like,
game?
I'm-
You are right. I wish I had a mana grip right now so I could kill myself
how it
faster.
felt. That's literally how I felt
Untap,
last game.
draw
I
for
just
turn.
wanted to die.
This is
Mother-
the game, Rick.
Fucker!
This is the game that you wish you had the guy that cracks, so you could make sure your mana creep kills you faster and you can leave sooner.
Yeah. I can't even swing at anyone. Fuck this game.
You got
Oh.
Rograkh.
Wait, hold on. I can play my commander at least.
No, you can. Not from the command zone.
Fuck! Fuck!
I love stacks.
What's going on?
I can at least play.
I don't understand. What's going? Like, why is everyone just ignoring every single stacks piece? Like,
Shut down. I'm gonna guess. Oh shit. Right.
I'll pass. I'll pass.
Ancient grudge. Oh no.
Oh my god. Fuck this game. I'm gonna die.
Just draw more stacks.
Before Jimmy's turn starts, I want to issue a trigger warning. If mistakes trigger you, I would fast forward to Cheeto's turn, as this is not a pretty turn. Jimmy decides that combat is his best way out and casts a Carpet of Flower to grow his champion and give Lutz another treasure. He then activates the carpet even though he would have needed to go to his second main to do so and adds 2 white. He also forgets about his own Deafening Silence and casts a Stony Silence, which he shouldn't have been able to. And just to spite Jimmy, Lutz cracks both his treasures. Jimmy then heads to the seemingly underused second combat phase and swings his Grift at Cheeto. Cheeto shocks in an untapped Watery Grave and uses Kenrith to reanimate his Gilded Drake, and ultimately take Fernando's Brago. He then gives his creatures haste and swings Brago at Lutz while Kenrith blows at Fernando. Lutz blocks while Fernando takes the hit. Fernando takes 1 off his tap mana vault, and even knowing Jimmy still probably has his Aiming Mind Sensor, he wants to push his luck and cast a Spell Seeker. And his assumption was correct, as Jimmy flashes in the sensor, although Lutz responds with a Vamp Tutor before the Aven can resolve. This also is another misplay here, as Fernando looks at the top 4, but the ETB shouldn't have happened due to the Hushwing Grip. That being said, he does reveal a Mystical Tutor. He then heads to combat and swings his Gilded Drake at Jimmy, who takes the hit. Lutz wins his Script Trigger and draws a card he tutored for. He then casts a Windfall. Fernando responds with the Swords on the Hull Breacher, before everyone discards and draws 5. Lutz unfortunately doesn't have much else, as he then plays an Orborg as land and passes. Jimmy has a Windswept Heath as land and then taps a forest to crop rotation. Knowing there's a Gaia's Cradle coming out, Fernando decides to mental misstep it, and Jimmy follows it up by cracking the Heath for a plateau. Jimmy then activates his carpet for 3 green and uses it to cast Scoot Swarm. Jimmy then heads to combat and swings his Grip and Aven at Cheetos, while the champion heads at Fernando. Before blockers, Lutz gives Fernando another Spirit, which he uses to block, and Cheetos takes the hit. Cheeto on his turn activates Kenrith to reanimate his Mayhem Devil, and then play and crack a Flooded Strand to play the Aven Mind Sensor Lotto.
Look at the top 4.
Yeah, but Scoot Swarm's still dead.
Oh shit, you're right. I fucking hate mine. Dude, I need to kill that thing.
You should have killed the Mind Sensor, I guess, first. I don't know.
And more importantly, the Mayhem Devil, seeing the sacrificed land, pings the Scoot Swarm before it can really start swarming. Cheeto does fail to find. He once again gives his creatures haste and swings his board at Jimmy, who mazes the Brago to prevent him from having untapped creatures. Fernando does take another one off the tap vault and plays a Prismatic Vista as land, and sacrifices it in hope Cheeto will kill the Aven. Cheeto decides to instead ping the Hushwing Griff, but Fernando does find a snow-covered island. He then heads to combat and sends everything except the Spirit at Jimmy. Lutz loses his Script Trigger and plays a Luxury Suite. He did find a Mystic Remora off the top and passes after that. Jimmy on his turn activates the carpet and uses the mana to cast an Earthcraft. Jimmy doesn't pay the fish and it resolves, with Jimmy getting a draw off his champion. He then plays the land and heads to combat, with the Aven going at Fernando and the champion going at Cheeto. Cheeto plays a Savannah as land and then casts the Dockside Extortionist, gaining 8 unactivatable treasures due to the Stony Silence. He then follows it up with Imperial Seal, giving another card to Lutz, and looks at the top 4. He then leaves a card on top and decides to pass and not go to combat. Fernando on his turn uses his non-creature spell for turn for an Oath of Jace, to draw 3 and discard 2. This gives Lutz another card draw off the fish, and still with the Oath on the stack, Cheeto responds with a Chain of Vapor on the Stony Silence. This gives Lutz another card draw, but responding to this, Jimmy casts a Guttural Response to counter the chain, and he even pays 4 for the fish. But wanting the Stony Silence gone for his turn, Lutz then counters the Guttural Response with a Mental Misstep. So here's where things get interesting. So Chain of Vapor is kind of a weird card, mainly the timing around it. When you bounce something with it, the opponent gets the opportunity to sack a land and bounce something of their choosing. But the keyword is after you have bounced something to get the copy. So even if Jimmy sacrifices a land to bounce the Kenrith, the Stony Silence is already back in Jimmy's hand, and Cheeto can now sacrifice his treasures for mana, and use the Mayhem Devil to ping the dockside to kill it, and infinitely reanimate it with Kenrith, which gives him infinite treasures to sacrifice, and with the sacrifice, the Mayhem Devil will ping out the table, winning Cheeto the game. Game review. Well, I do want to say I'm sorry about the misplays in the gameplay. I started editing it and didn't realize till I was halfway through that there would be so many. However, I did think it was really an interesting game, and there was still a lot of good interaction. I do think Lutz should have realized that the combo was online if the chain resolved, and not countered with the guttural. But in the moment, it was late at night, and people make mistakes. Cheeto did reveal that he did have another way to remove the Stony Silence on top of his library, so I don't know if it really would have mattered too much. But to everyone watching, definitely be mindful of when playing over webcam or even in person. Commander is a complicated format, and it's easy to forget about things that can and will cost you the game.